All right, Johnny, I'll take my cues from you as to when we've got the full panel ready and we're ready to go.
We're good to go, Chair.
Oh, wonderful. All right, then in that case, I will call this regular meeting of the Colorado Geographic Naming Advisory Board to order. Today is January 27th, 2026. It is 5:04 p.m. and we are meeting this evening via Zoom. So we'll begin with my extending a welcome to everybody, our panelists, those of us who are on the board, as well as those members of the public who are joining us this evening. And I will turn to you, Johnny, for roll call. Or is that Wendy?
Wendy, if you could do it for me, please.
All right. Forgive me, this is my first time doing roll call, so if I mess up, please let me know. Chair Stout. Anna Stout.
Present.
Eric Ishiwata.
Present. Thank you.
Jill Carlson.
I'm present.
Rich Chimino.
Present.
Nikki Gonzalez.
Present.
Matt Steen.
Present.
Tim Wolf.
Present.
Eric Bergman.
I'm here.
Jared Orsi.
Present.
Catherine Redhorse.
Present.
Thomas Andrews.
Present.
Tisha Mara.
Here.
Tony Exum.
Good evening.
Shelley Zanisser.
Present.
All right, folks on the call, did I miss anyone? And I am here.
Wonderful. In that case, we have a quorum. Thank you so much, Director Padilla. We will move then to agenda item 3, which is reviewing and approving the January agenda. I will call to everyone's attention that there was an updated agenda that was sent out, just correcting where a couple of things, what they were labeled as introductions versus I think review. So in any case, the most recent agenda that went out is the one that we're considering. Is there any discussion on the agenda or any requests for changes to it? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve January's agenda.
Madam Chair, this is Rich Chimino. I will be making a motion shortly. I do want to make one statement about the agenda. We welcome all attendees to stay and watch our meeting. Thank you, attendees, for being here. I just want to point out that this agenda for tonight does not include anything with Kit Carson or Kit Carson Peak tonight, should that, determine anybody wants to stick around or not, but you're welcome to stay. I want to make that note, and I do like the agenda for today. I move that we approve the January agenda.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second that. Jill Carlson.
Wonderful. We have a motion on the table from Rich Chimino and a second by Jill Carlson. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor of approving the January agenda, please say aye.
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 Any nays? And any abstentions? The agenda has been approved by a majority of the board, unanimously, actually. And I would apologize in advance to everybody for how I sound. I was at a conference with 30,000 people and inevitably picked something up. So I've been battling this. When a conference is larger than many of our Colorado communities, you're definitely going to be exposed to something. All right, we'll move next to our November summary. And this was provided in our board packet. This was the meeting summary from November 18th, 2025. Is there any discussion about this or corrections requested to this summary? In that case, I would entertain a motion to approve the November 18th, 2025 summary.
Chair Stout, I move to approve.
Thank you so much. Do we have a second?
I second.
Wonderful. We have a motion on the table by Director Padilla and a second by Dr. Gonzalez. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? The November summary is approved by unanimous consent. Agenda item 5. Do we have any board member updates or announcements to cover before we get into the meat of the agenda?
I have a board member question, if I could, Chair Stout. And we can answer this question in a couple more months, but I just wondered if Wendy or Johnny might know if there's any DNR budget for the Cogna conference this year. We may not send an attendee this year. We went the last 3 years in preparation for Colorado hosting. We hosted last year. I really appreciate all the work so many of you did for that conference last year. But yeah, I'm just curious if there's any budget for any of our members that might want to go. I think it's in California this year. And I was looking at their website. There's no announcement about it yet. So they're still getting their act together. But perhaps next time we meet, we could let it be known if there's any budget for travel or not. And I'm just curious. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Wendy,
you.
go
I
ahead.
may respond. We'll put that on the agenda for next time. What month is that in? Do you happen to know?
August? July or August?
Okay.
We did it in September, but I think we pushed it back deliberately to give us some planning time.
Okay. Yeah, we'll research that and have that on the next agenda. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Any other updates, announcements, or questions? All right.
Chair Stout, I did have an update.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Our Assistant Director for Tribal Affairs, Stacy Coleman, will not be able to make it tonight. She's got agenda item 6, but I just wanted to let you all know the reason she's unable to make it is because today is the first listening session for Colorado Parks and Wildlife, Indigenous and American Indian community members to provide experiences, priorities, and perspectives that help guide the future of Colorado state parks. We put out a press release about this, but we will have about 7 listening sessions around the state, and Stacy and you all know Deputy Director Tim Mock now at CPW will be going through these listening sessions and then to the Partners in the Outdoors conference. So really proud of all the work Stacy has embarked upon, and I can provide that press release, or Chris might be able to help provide that press release in the chat. And Madam Chair, that's all I had.
Thank you so much. Shelley, did you have an update?
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair. Just one note based on what Rich had brought up. The Cogna Conference is scheduled 22 through 25 September, and that's going to be taking place in Sacramento.
Thank you. So Wendy, in that case, do we have anyone to cover? Did Stacy send anything ahead for item 6, or do we want to just skip item 6 for this meeting?
We can skip item 6.
Great. Okay, we will go then to our agenda items specific to names. And we'll start with consideration for USBGN spelling correction. This is Nicholson Creek to Nicholson Creek. It's kind of like when you spell out tomato, tomato, but the opposite. So this is Nicholson, Nickelson to Nicholson, Nichholson Creek. And spelling corrections are not added to the USBGN review list. So we will consider it here. And Director Padilla, do you have a summary for us?
Yes, I do. Thank you. And it's on page 11 of your packet. So yes, from a KE to a KO, it is a stream in Pitkin County and mostly located on the White River National Forest, and the proponent has provided quite a bit of evidence that the name was misspelled on USGS maps. William B. Nicholson and his son were early residents and homesteaders. BGN staff will process this under expedited spelling correction process. Pitkin County Board of County Commissioners has shared the proponent has shared the support that the Board of Commissioners supports it, and we do as staff support this as well as the U.S. Forest Service. So far, the proponent has also received support from Snowmass Capitol Creek Caucus and the family. So with that, I can add anything else you'd like or turn it back over to you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from board members? This was one of the most complete submissions in terms of the evidence provided. So any concerns or questions or clarification needed? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion for consideration of the USBGN spelling correction from CKE to CHO.
I'll make that motion, Anna, Jill Carlson.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second, Jared Orsi.
Thank you. We have a motion on the table to consider to adopt the consideration for the spelling correction for Nicholson Creek to Nicholson Creek. Motion made by Jill Carlson and a second by Jared Orsi. Any discussion on this motion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And any abstentions? All right, the consideration for the spelling correction passes unanimously. All right, we'll move to agenda item 8, consideration of USBGN case 6020. This is considering an unnamed feature renamed to Bryant Creek. I'll turn it over to you, Director Padilla.
Thank you. And this starts on page 46 of your packet. And there may be a typo there. It's 6520, looks like the case is. So the current name is an unnamed feature. The proposed name is Bryant Creek in Summit County, White River National Forest, and a 1.8 mile long stream on the southwest slope of Lenawee Mountain and flows generally southwest into the Snake River. And the history or the where this is coming from is named for Greg Ernest Bryant, who was born in 1957, passed away in 2011, a GIS specialist who specialized in hydrography mapping and contributed to the development of the National Hydrography Dataset. And outreach that's been done so far has been to the Summit County Board of Commissioners, U.S. Forest Service, and tribes, and they do have support from letters, friends, and family. So this is an introduction.
Thank you so much. Any questions from board members or any further information needed? At this point, we would be considering whether or not to move this forward for a name change. Or any discussion in general. Thomas?
Thank you. Yeah, so I didn't see any, nothing from like Summit County and so forth. So that would be at the next stage then. Is that right? Because all the letters of support seem to be, family, friends, people who know him, but it seems like it would be good to have a local viewpoint.
The USBGN did do outreach to Summit County. Shelley, do you know if anything, there was nothing received positive or negative, correct?
Sorry, I'm looking through the file right now. All the letters of support appear to be from locals.
So
At
that
this
would
time.
be something that we could follow up on specifically to see if the Summit County Board of County Commissioners wants to take a position or opine. Are there any other outreach requests from board members or suggestions? Certainly, once we move this forward and formally introduce it, then the 120-day period for tribal outreach would begin, and we would go through that standard process as well. But is there anyone else that the board would like to have us reach out to? Dr. Andrew, is it Dr.?
Sure, or you can call me Thomas.
We're loose about
Yeah.
that on this board, and I apologize about that. Thomas.
No worries at all. Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I mean, this looks like it's right next to a basin ski area, and maybe within it as well. So I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing a basin's opinion on it.
Okay. Is there anyone on the board who feels like we shouldn't move this forward to introduction? Okay. Then I'll come back to discussion, but I wanted to take a quick temperature before we did too much more diving into what we want out of it if we're not going to move it forward. So is there any other information that the board would like to have as we consider this and as the 120-day period starts?
This is Matt Steen. Just looking at maps, I mean, it's it's named Chihuahua Gulch. There's a Chihuahua Trailhead, Chihuahua Lake. So there are some names that are already existing for that feature. Maybe that could be researched a little bit further.
Okay. Thank you for that, Matt. Anything else to discuss on this one before I entertain a motion for introduction? Dr. Ishwata?
Yeah, sorry, I kind of say this every 6 months, it feels like, but we do go back and forth on our position of naming new features after individuals. And I know the last point of consideration, that was a name change of something that was already named after an individual, but it does feel like we have an uneven process when it comes on naming new features and whether it's going to be named after individuals or, general, more abstract. And so I would appreciate if that could be a consideration with this particular request as well.
Wonderful. Do you want, in terms of it being a consideration, are you requesting that we really discuss that, or that we look at process document, or what would that look like?
I don't want it to be localized to this particular request. I think it is something that I just don't have resolved in my own head as it comes up every once in a while for us. And I would appreciate a broader discussion, I guess, amongst my colleagues here to figure out, do we have a position on this or not? And or is it open for renaming every feature after individuals?
Thank you for that. I'll acknowledge that as the chair, I don't have it completely clear either. I don't know that we have landed on black and white guidance on that. So that is something I think we could agendize for a future meeting, certainly, or even discuss later in this meeting. Representative Mora.
I agree with that. In my head, I think we've discussed before not naming after names, and even is there a need to name it is also kind of comes to mind. So yeah, I wouldn't mind a broader discussion on that.
We can certainly do that. I appreciate that input as well. Are we prepared to take a vote on introducing this currently before resolving that question, or do we want to agendize that discussion and have resolution on it before we introduce this? Certainly, if we were to introduce it and then have that discussion, and that discussion brings us to a no naming after people decision, then we could use that decision as our decision, or as our sort of litmus test for where to move this case. Or if board members are more comfortable waiting to even start the introduction until we've had that discussion, I think either path is a viable path. Any strong feelings one way or another?
seems like we should decide if we're going to have a firm stance on naming of names before we move the process forward, but I can do it either way, whatever you think is best.
Yeah, I think the number one consideration for me would be sending DNR staff out to do work on something that that may be a moot point and would not have been introduced otherwise. Director Padilla, did you have something to add to that as well?
Just agree with you. It might be good to put this on the next agenda and then take this one up again.
Wonderful. In that case, would entertain a motion, unless there's further discussion, to table this case to the next Colorado Geographic Naming Advisory Board meeting agenda. Jared?
Yeah, I'm okay tabling it. I think the question that Eric raises is important. But I also know that there are a number of other items on our agenda tonight that raise similar issues. And so I'm just pointing out that we might have to be prepared to table other items on our agenda as well. Just pointing it out.
Yep, absolutely. All right, any other discussion? Dr. Shweta?
Yeah, as part of that larger conversation, we're not the only state doing this. I wouldn't mind seeing if other states are approaching this, and if we can learn from what other states are doing, and then also just for the sake of consistency, it might be worthwhile going through our past minutes and looking at the positions that we've taken in our recent history and make sure that we're not running afoul of our own practices, I guess.
Those are good suggestions. Shelley, would you be able to assist us with the other state comparison? And then Johnny, we'd ask for you or Dr. Padilla or Director Padilla's delegation of the previous meetings so that we are at least aware of what we've done and what our conversation has been in the past and can try to be consistent with it or be informed by it. All right, in that case, I'm still willing to entertain a motion to table this item, and this is 6520.
I'll make that motion.
Wonderful. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion on the table by Dr. Carlson to table USBGN case number 6520 to our next agenda, with a second by Representative Mora. Any discussion on that motion?
I'm not Dr. Carlson.
Sorry. See,
not Dr.
I'm just giving them out. Nobody has to do any work for their doctorate with me. We're conferred as Geographic Naming Advisory Board members. All right, any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed to tabling? And any abstentions? All right, motion passes, and we will table that one to the next meeting. That brings us to item agenda number 9, Longs Peak Group renaming consideration. This is USBGN case number 6412 through 6413, and this is Longs Peak to Beaver Mountain and Mount Meeker to Paddletail Mountain. And I'll turn it over to you, Director Padilla, for the case summaries.
Thank you, Chair. This starts on page 77 of your packets, and this is Longs Peak Group in really affecting National Park Service, Rocky Mountain National Park, and the opposed so far have been National Park Service, Boulder County Board of Commissioners. On page 81, which I am scrolling to, you'll find a little bit of a better summary there. The proponent submitted several groups of proposals that would affect the names of summits in Colorado. These groups would not only change existing official names, but also apply new names to officially unnamed summits. And so these are current official name Longs Peak and Mount Meeker to Beaver Mountain and Paddletail Mountain. The proponent explained the name changes and new names in general with the following statement. The practice of associating peak names, if not all geographic names, with people is short-sighted, perilous, and captures unsavory aspects of human nature. Instead, peak names should embrace aspects of nature enjoyable by all or themes that capture the human experience. And the proponent believes that groups of summits should have all names that are part of a theme. So this agenda item 9 is part of that. Our next 2 agenda items also are a part of that as well. There are also more detailed case summaries on page 82 and 83 of your packet.
Thank you. I will open this one up for discussion.
I'm seeing a lot of valid opposition to these proposals.
Okay. Dr. Andrews.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I don't I was not at all persuaded by these. I think that Meeker, I would not mind seeing Meeker renamed at some point. I can maybe see a bit of an argument for Longs, but um, I don't think it's persuasive. I don't think that the sort of idea that it looks a little bit like a beaver makes much sense. It doesn't seem like they've done any consultation. It doesn't seem like they've taken into consideration indigenous place names. So for a lot of reasons, I don't think that these are I don't think any of these are a good idea.
Thank you. Other discussion? Jared.
I agree with what Thomas just said. I would just add that I'm not sure naming a peak after Michener's book, which important and influential as it is still a work of fiction and would not sort of rise to the same level. I guess it's not fully fictional, but anyway. It wouldn't rise to the same level for me as somebody if they had done more consultation with locals and especially with tribes and things like that to sort of build some community consensus around what the new name should be.
Thank you. Other discussion or thoughts or questions? I'm not hearing any vociferous support for moving this forward. I also find the proposal to be somewhat arbitrary. I'm not entirely sure what the catalyst was for the petition for the renaming or the justification for the beaver references, other than the fact that it looks like it, I suppose. Is there any additional information that the board wants, or are we prepared to make a recommendation regarding introduction or not introduction?
This is Catherine, and just more of a comment, because I think like our previous conversation was about naming mountains or places right after people, and I feel like that right like is the proponent's reasoning here. And although we may not agree with the proposed names, it also sounds like the board may entertain if further consultations or other community engagement occurred, that the board would consider other names proposed. And I just want to make sure like that's commented, even though that these proposed names we may not agree with, that doesn't mean future proposed names the board wouldn't agree with.
Certainly, that's an excellent point, and I'm not sure if the proponent is on or not, but the board does not take the initiative to come up with names for consideration. We consider the proposals that come before us, and so if a proponent chose to amend a proposal, we would consider, the amended proposal. Certainly, a proponent could submit a new proposal and start the process over. But this is something that we certainly, with new information and an amended proposal or a new proposal, would reconsider. So the decision that's made this evening about any of the proposals that we're considering are specific to the proposal before us. And that's a really good call out, Catherine. All right, any other discussion? In that case, I would entertain a motion regarding introduction. And that motion can be made in the negative.
This is Rich Chimino. I move that we do not forward this, use the right title here. Agenda item 9, Longs Peak Group renaming. The motion, I move it, we do not forward it.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion not to introduce USBGN cases 6412 and 6413 by Rich Chimino and a second by Jill Carlson. Any discussion on this motion? Jared.
I just have a question. I don't know what our habit is here, but I agree with what Catherine said about we're not rejecting the idea of considering a renaming. Can that be conveyed along with our, if we decline this to introduce this, can that point be conveyed to the proponent?
I'll turn to Johnny for that, but I would start by saying that it is essentially inherent in our decision that we would reconsider it. So anything that was brought back to us could be reconsidered. I don't know if we specifically communicate to the proponents anything beyond introduced or not introduced, Johnny.
No, we don't do anything beyond that. We just say it was denied or we're moving it forward.
Though I will also say that our meetings are public and our summaries are also public. So, and our summaries are quite thorough. So the proponent would be able to go back and at least get the basics from this conversation. All right, any other discussion on the motion? All in favor of not introducing cases, USBGN cases 6412 and 6413, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. And any abstentions? Motion carries and those cases will not be introduced. All right, moving now to way ahead of agenda or of our programmed agenda. I want to point out, we'll try to keep this on a nice smooth track here. But we're going to move to agenda item 10. This is the Handy's Peak group renaming. This is here for the board's consideration, USBGN cases 6414 to 6426. And this is from the same proponent as the previous proposals. And I will turn it over to Director Padilla for the broad case summary here.
Thank you, Chair. Begins on page 98 of your packets, and it is in Hinsdale and San Juan counties in the Handy's Peak Group, Bureau of Land Management. Opposed are Hinsdale County, San Juan County, and the Bureau of Land Management. Page 102 has more information, and you can see on the agenda, Handy's Peak would be renamed Rainbow Peak, and then all the others are unnamed features that would be renamed in the theme of light. I think the proponent describes the theme, 12 associated new names, the theme of light as established by the names of the nearby peaks, Sunlight Peak and Red Cloud Peak. So I can go forward, but with that, I think that's a very broad summary of this proposal.
Thank you, Director Padilla. And I do want to mention, I can't remember if this came up, if we've already considered some of these cases or not, but this was mentioned in the packet. And it was that if not all of them will be changed, the proponent's position is that they stand together as a group, and therefore, if not one, then none. So I'll begin with that and then open it up for conversation. Any discussion from board members? Dr. Andrews.
Thank you. Yeah. Sorry to talk so much. In this
That's your role.
case,
We're thrilled.
what we do. Um, yeah, I mean, in this case, I found this, the proposal doesn't identify who Handy's peak is currently named after. Also, unlike the previous proposal, many of these features are unnamed. And the local, the sort of local municipal opposition was more strongly articulated even than in the previous case. So to me, all of that kind of adds up to I don't think it's worth going forward with this one.
Thank you. Other comments from board members? Are we ready in that case if there's no further conversation to entertain a motion? If so, I would entertain one at this point regarding introduction.
I'm scrolling back to the application number. Okay, I would make a motion to not move USBGN case 6414 through 6426 forward.
Thank you. We have a motion on the table from Jill Carlson. Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. So we have a motion on the table not to introduce USBGN case number 6414 through 6426, and a second by Dr. Gonzalez. Any discussion on that motion?
I have just one question. The proponents all have the opportunity to come to present their case to this to these hearings, correct? Meaning I've in the past meetings we've had people talk through why they submitted these things. So they have the opportunity to join this call also to make a case if they wanted to. Is that accurate?
That is my understanding. Go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah, so we don't invite them to the meeting unless we move them forward.
Got it. Okay.
Not at
That's
the
what
end
I
of that
just wanted to make sure it was clarified, because I remember some of them joining and explaining that, but I didn't realize I didn't remember it was a two-step process. First, they got to clear the first hurdle, then they're invited to. So, okay.
Yes.
Thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other discussion on the motion? We have a motion on the table then, and I will call for all those in favor to please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And any abstentions? In that case, the motion passes unanimously, and we will not be introducing those cases. Item agenda 11 is the Holy Cross group renaming, USBGN cases 6427 to 6433. And these are all unnamed features, and I will turn it over to you, Director Padilla, for the case summary.
Thank you, Chair. The case begins on page 155 of your packet in Eagle. This Holy Cross group is in Eagle County, and the federal agency is the Forest Service, White River National Forest. The opposed are Eagle County and U.S. Forest Service, White River National Forest. On page 159 of your packet, there's more of an explanation. And with this group, the proponent, the theme for replacement names for these peaks are the 7 deadly sins or cardinal sins of sloth, envy, wrath, lust, gluttony, pride, and greed. The summits are along or near the Holy Cross Ridge, named for the ridge's highest point, Mount of the Holy Cross. And so I can provide more information from the packet if you need it, but that's an overall summary.
So this is similar to our previous 2 agenda items. I'll open it up for discussion from the board. Dr. Andrews, do you want to I saw you unmute. Do you want to start?
I was actually trying to mute, so I didn't get this one rolling. But I guess I would say on this one, this involves a sort of in addition to the sorts of issues I raised on the earlier ones, this sort of involves a relative ranking of sinfulness, which gets into realms in which I'm very uncomfortable making determinations. So
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I'm familiar with this initial submission. I think it was 2 years ago while we were at the Cogna conference in Portland. But
It was while we were in Missouri, because I was there.
1 year ago. So yeah, I really am impressed of the work that over 100 pages of work had to be done by a little bit by USBGN, some by DNR here in Colorado. So it's a book we should probably provide all Geographic Naming Advisory Board members, called Strange But True Colorado. And in it, ironically, the author does go into the USBGN and how, as right here, she says, according to federal law 80-242, any person in the United States may propose a name for a mountain or any geographic feature for that matter. And that's true. And so this individual, I applaud the individual's creativity. And there is an interesting concept of grouping themes in nearby mountain ranges. However, what's very much necessary is local support and the locals who live there coordinating the nomination with people that live near these geographic features. And so that's clearly what was lacking in these last three agenda items. And so if this individual wishes to proceed, I hope that there's more local coordination done. As we said with the last two agenda items, not moving it forward at this time does not deny a future resubmission with some more local support. But yeah, the opposition from locals is it definitely carries great weight, I think, with this board. And yeah, we'll see what other discussion occurs, and we'll have a motion and a vote. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And well put. And I think that is an important thing to reiterate, that we appreciate the participation of proponents who bring these, who put the effort in to caring about geographic names and bring these proposals to us. And I also want to commend this board, and that really the praise goes to the board, but it really kind of is concentrated at the DNR staff level, because we've put together a process here in Colorado where even though we still have a couple of things that we're resolving, such as our policy on names after individuals, we have a more structured, clear, organized process than many of the geographic naming authorities across the US. And we discover this every time we go to a Cogna conference, that Colorado really is held on high by other geographic naming advisories because of the level of clarity that we provide in how we do this. So I hope that process and the benefit of this conversation by the board tonight will be beneficial to the proponent and will be encouraging to the proponent to continue working on proposals, but that fall within our consideration kind of guidelines, and also really involve the local community. All of that said, I'm prepared to entertain a motion on this group of proposals, USBGN cases 6427 to 6433.
I'll move to not advance these proposals.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion on the table not to introduce USBGN case number 6427 to 6433 by Jill Carlson and a second by Matt Steen. Any discussion on this motion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 And any opposed, say nay. And are there any abstentions? All right, that motion carries unanimously as well. That brings us now to the conclusion of our case consideration. And so we will move into the opportunity for executive session. Similar to last time, we have an executive session agendized if needed. And that gives us the opportunity to discuss information that our Assistant Attorney General deems appropriate for executive session. We had the process document that we introduced at our last meeting on the agenda tonight to discuss. We introduced it last time to give board members the opportunity to digest it, the proposed changes we were making, and certainly also to allow the public the opportunity to provide us any feedback if they had any. At this point, I would like us to consider adoption of the updated version of the process document. So I would open up the floor for discussion about the proposed changes. And if needed, I know it's been a little while since our last meeting, since November. Does anybody need for us to put this up on the screen? Yes, okay. Let me, Wendy or Johnny, are either of you in a faster position than I am to putting this up?
No, let us get it figured out here.
I have it available if we want to, if I have permission to share.
That would be great because I don't have it at my fingertips.
Yep, I can do it right here. If anybody comments on how many tabs I have open, though, I'm unsharing right away. All right, so this is the document, so you'll see changes in red when we get down to it, I believe. Or is this the one that's already had the changes accepted? All right, timeout. Let me unshare and find the one that has the red line. Here it is. Sorry about that, everyone. I should have had this queued up. Here we are. Okay, I am ready to share this one. Okay, so this is our, anything that's not redlined is our original document. Here's where we have the changes to the process that we introduced at our last meeting. I'll remind everybody that the primary reason behind these process change suggestions were to, one, try to align with changes that the USBGN was making to their process, and two, to put the onus on the proponent to document, to put effort into doing a lot of the stakeholdering that we required to be done. So in other words, to put the onus on them to show us that they were engaging local governments, local stakeholders, landowners. Specifically, we are not asking proponents to engage with tribes. The tribal outreach will still be something that we take on as the Geographic Naming Advisory Board. And so this was one of the primary changes we made. And then scrolling down here, the other major change that we wanted to introduce is the introduction of a consent agenda. which would then allow us to adopt simple changes or simple items. And I would point to our name change earlier, the spelling change earlier in the evening. That would be the type of case that might be placed on a consent agenda and wouldn't require discussion. And any board member would be able to remove items from the consent agenda to have full discussion, but it was an attempt to, or it will be an attempt to streamline our meetings and not have the board spend time on simple, relatively administrative matters. That I believe is yep, that is the extent of the changes that we're proposing in the process document. So I will open it up for board conversation at this point. Rich?
Madam Chair, these comments are coming a bit late. My apologies. I was wondering why were we supposed to be like going into executive session for this and then coming back out, or why the agenda?
Only if the board requested to go into executive session. As we were planning the agenda, our thought process behind this was that we want to do this transparently and that we are happy to have this conversation publicly. But if there were any privileged conversation discussion points that the board wanted to have, we would have the ability to go into executive session.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate the explanation. Yeah, no, I just would like to comment that I support the changes as proposed. I don't have any privileged comments to go into executive about, and I'm glad we're doing this discussion in the full public format here. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Catherine.
I was wondering, just looking at it, if we do want to add something indicating that like the tribal nations outreach will be handled by the board or the DNR staff, because just further clarification, I think would be helpful.
Yeah, to make it explicit that right here in 3A I or 3A1 that local stakeholders should not be interpreted to mean tribal stakeholders.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable addition. To clarify, maybe we make that a second point. So the first point is document efforts. Second point is tribal outreach will be done by the board. And we can even be more specific than that if we'd like, but upon introduction, so that it's also clear that that will only be done if it's moved to introduction, or maybe that's a third point. Any thoughts on that? Does anybody have a suggestion otherwise, or thoughts otherwise?
I would just support that. I think that's a really good addition.
I agree. It's a good clarification. And again, we are intentional about that. We don't want to flood, our tribes with requests for consideration for things that the board won't be taking up, because we know how many things they have to consider already with what we're taking them. All right. Any other? Yes, Shelley.
Yeah, so two questions. The first one, I guess I'm trying to understand the process at the state level versus our process at the federal level. And if the proponent is going to be reaching out to get local support, how will the state time that so that that happens before we do our outreach to the county? That way they're not getting double tapped from both the state and the federal board.
I would turn to Johnny and Wendy on that. Johnny, what's your, or is your comment separate from this?
No.
Okay, go ahead, please.
So Shelley, we don't do anything until you guys have already done all of the outreach and to the locals, the tribes, the counties. if it comes back that they don't, then once we get it, if we see that there's no um, county support or local support, then staff would then reach out yet again to get that from the counties or the locals.
And so Shelley,
Okay.
would it make sense then that for someone to be able to submit a consideration to the USBGN for a Colorado landmark or Colorado feature? My apologies. 1 second.
Release the hounds.
This is the big strong hound that's here to defend my life. Anyway, is it possible to have for them to even submit a Colorado consideration to the USBGN? Would the USBGN be able to provide this information to a proponent that this is what will have to be completed in Colorado? Because ideally, it would actually, I don't know if it would make less work for the USBGN, but certainly would provide some information to the USBGN if the proponent had done local outreach upon or prior to submission to you. Does that make sense? I'll admit that I am not as familiar with the USBGN process as I am with the Colorado one.
Yeah, I think this would probably warrant further discussion with my staff and the Colorado board, just to make sure that we get our process flow in order. Because the last thing I want to do is add additional communications to the counties and so forth by asking them a second time if they have any additional input that they want to provide. But that being said, that's at the state level. I don't want us to overstep, from the federal side on how you all conduct your business. So yeah, happy to have a follow-on discussion on this if that makes the most sense.
Thank you.
And then, Madam Chair, if I could, one more question on this particular item. So what are there going to be time restrictions for how long the proponent has to get this additional information? And then how do we proceed if there's no follow through on it and no response?
I will turn to the board for that. I'm not sure that we currently have in our process document, I don't think we have any deadlines other than our 120-day tribal outreach time period. So I'm not sure if there's a suggestion about how we handle that. Sarah.
Get my video on. Hi, all. I just want to raise a concern that I think we may have a version control issue. Because if I recall correctly, there was some discussion about what happens if an applicant goes dark last meeting. And I think that we should, it would be important for the board to make sure that we're all working from the same version.
That's fair. And I also will just, disclaimer that I'm pulling this document here up from a previous email. We don't have a red line from this in this packet, do we, Johnny? I didn't see it as a red line.
To be honest with you, I'm not sure. But I did put a link in the chat that has the red line version. It's the live version.
Thank you. Let me open that and share that one instead.
Chair Stout, I would exercise caution in sharing that document at this time. It may contain privileged attorney-client advice.
Okay.
That is, the board can waive that privilege if they so choose, but it's generally recommended not to. Perhaps there's a way to display it such that the comments cannot be viewed.
This would actually be an opportunity. This is precisely why I think we had the executive session scheduled if we need to go into it. I cannot open it though, regardless. So I don't have the permission for it. Director Padilla.
Yes, thank you. I guess one option, kind of given the version control and just to make sure the full board has a chance to digest all the latest red lines. One option that we have is to table this until the next agenda, send the red lines out, and then put this on the agenda next time. That will give us a chance to have a discussion with our federal partners on the process flow as well. From my understanding, just coming on in September, DNR staff in the past has done a lot of work to try to understand if the proponents have talked to local communities and to try to understand if there is opposition out there or, what, local cities or counties are thinking about it above and beyond what comes in the proponent packet. So this, I think, is an attempt to say to the proponent that there's a little bit of onus on them to demonstrate whether or not they have local support. So we definitely want to work in concert with our federal partners on the process flow, and we want you all to have the correct version to be able to make sure that you're comfortable with what that looks like. So that would be my suggestion on how to move forward on this one to make sure we get you the right information.
Great. Any objection to that proposal? Okay. And Rich, I saw you had your hand up. Do you have anything to add or not now?
Not now, Madam Chair. Perhaps before we adjourn, please.
Okay, wonderful. All right. I don't believe that we need a motion, and Sarah, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we need a motion regarding the tabling of the board process document. Catherine, sorry, I didn't see you.
No, I'm sorry. Thanks, Chair. I apologize because I did miss I think the last commission meeting, and I want to make sure that I'm understanding correct that we're asking the proponents or the applicants to have that outreach, and then like with local communities or local counties, and not necessarily have support from them, but have their opinion on whether or not they propose, because I think those are two different things. And I just want to make sure that I'm understanding it correctly.
Yes, and I would actually take it even a layer back, and it's not even that to have support or oppose, but really just to document that they've done outreach. If they don't get any responses from the folks that they're doing outreach to, but can document that they did the outreach, that would be sufficient for the application, at least for our consideration initially.
Thank you for that clarification.
Okay, and then Sarah, is that correct that we can move forward without a motion to table that?
I think you're fine to move forward, yes.
Great, thank you. Well, it brings us to the bottom of our agenda. We're now at our next meeting, and in the past, we've been successful in trying to get everybody's calendars out, but I think that in this case, I think our board has grown a little bit. Our best bet will probably be a doodle that Johnny can send out on behalf of the board for all of us. We'll look to meet again. We have a pretty deep stack of proposals that we want to continue to move through. So I think that our proposal will be that we meet sometime in probably late March, early April, so that we can keep chipping away at this pile that we have. Yes, Rich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And so regarding our next meeting, there was a desire by some board members, Dr. Ishiwada and perhaps some others, about, as it sounded to me like a desire for an official Colorado Geographic Naming Advisory Board policy regarding human names applied to geographic features. And so since we're so far ahead of schedule, this is not an agenda item to discuss right now, but this is the agenda item to discuss our next meeting. and not just date perhaps, but also like what's on the agenda for the next meeting. And before we add to the agenda to have a big discussion about that kind of a potential policy, I I desired to have a little discussion now about not doing that, and here's why. Um, so where we are right now, in my understanding, and every board member could have their own perception about our bylaws and about our practices and our procedures. We do not have a prohibition on human names applied to geographic features. And my memory, as we developed the bylaws, gosh, 7 years ago now or so, and the way we've been practicing ourselves, conducting ourselves since then, here's how I view it. Case in point, this board recommended Mount Mestehe, which is not real precise who that might have been referring to, but there's some historical evidence of a Native American referred to as Owl Woman. And so that would be a name that we've actually recommended that has human roots. Another example is the USBGN. There's no, they handle all names that are in the USBGN database around the world. And we had someone named Jenny Runyon who staffed the USBGN for like decades. And so there was a fairly, small geographic feature on the continent of Antarctica that at the Colorado Cognitive Conference was officially voted on to be called Runyon Ridge. Runyon Ridge is now in Antarctica and probably never matter. And they're very similar to the name proposal we got today of an individual who spent a lot of his life apparently working on GIS stuff that might get a geographic feature, get his name applied to it. And I'm fine. I'm really. It doesn't matter if I'm fine or not. I very much respect the concerns of the board members, the discussion we had about that proposal, which we delayed. That's a good conversation. But I just wanted to take some moment now, since we are ahead of schedule, to kind of describe my view of where this board is at regarding human names. It is that we did not put a prohibition in, and I think that comes to the board members. And you applied to be on this board. In future, your applications to the governor to be appointed to this board might include a statement that I personally, as a board member, will always vote against human names. And other board members might feel differently about lesser features, small rivers that might get a human name. And that's kind of how the nature of boards. That's why boards are beneficial. So I very much, well, not very much. I kind of prefer if we don't embark upon a big policy discussion with the possibility of resulting in some kind of prohibition. I think the more flexibility boards have, the better. And we might, all as a body, the board's got to convince each other to not do this or that. But that's my thoughts. And so maybe the other board members do want to have this conversation next week, and maybe over a few board meetings, and that's fine. I'm very supportive of my colleagues, and we'll see where we go. But I just wanted to offer some words about maybe just accepting our current procedures, our current bylaws, and continue business as we have. But I'll listen to others now. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Jill?
Yeah, I just want to say I agree with Rich. I feel like I'm a new member on this board, but I've been to enough meetings now to have observed and admired the process that the board uses. We evaluate proposals on a case-by-case basis, and I think a blanket restriction on naming features after human people might not be, is a potential outcome and possibly an inadvisable outcome of the discussion that we would be having. I would like to see us continue to evaluate proposals on a case-by-case basis without a blanket restriction or otherwise on any kind of name.
Thank you for that input. Any other discussion on this? And I will say that there is nothing that we discussed earlier that we would agendize a conversation about this, and I will stick to that commitment, and we can really revive these comments from both Rich and Jill at that time, because I know that there was a request on the table for some information about what other boards do. across the country. And I think that would be beneficial for us to have that as informative. And it'll give us an opportunity to agendize it so that the public knows that we're going to discuss it. And I think that is important as we seek to be a transparent public board, that we let the public know and give them the opportunity to be here, and to give public comment, which is where we'll go next once we've wrapped this conversation. So any further thoughts or any objection to the plan to continue to agendize this for a future meeting? Shelley.
Oh, I'm sorry, just one comment on that particular topic. Just want to have the board consider that from the federal process, we do have a policy in place regarding commemorative names. So if we're seeking state recommendations on a human name, the topic would probably still come up with the state for us to get a recommendation. So just something to consider as you all have your discussion. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, any other discussion or any matters any board member wants to bring up? Okay, we still have 2 attendees that I can see on the participant list. Is anybody here attending as a member of the public who would like to give public comment to the board this evening? I see that C. Wynn and John Carson, that's one participant here, has their hand raised. We'll go ahead and unmute you. And if you would just tell us who you are first for the record so that it is clear on our record, and then go ahead and give us your comments. Johnny, can we unmute them?
I can allow them to talk, but I can't unmute them. We had this the last meeting.
There.
Is that better?
Yep, that's great. Thank you.
Okay, great. First of all, Mr. Chimino, thank you for your comment early saying the kit wasn't going to be on the thing, but we'll be here until that's done. And I apologize, last time I couldn't get unmuted. I was in the middle of filming a America 250 film, but I did have 2 questions. I was just wondering, when are you guys going to look at Kit Carson Mountain? I mean, it's been, and I checked, since Mr. Clement's proposal, now it's been 1,897 days. That's 5 years. And the earliest I found it on your agenda, it was introduced November 2nd of 23, which is 828 days. I know you guys have a lot of things to do and all that kind of thing, but it would be a relief to know, quite frankly, what the heck's going on.
Thank you. And did you say your name for the record?
John Carson?
Thank you, John.
I thought I did. I'm sorry.
You probably did, and I didn't write it down. But thank you. Anything else you would like to add as part of your public comment?
Yeah, as long as we're doing that. And I wasn't able to see your program changes that you're doing. But I assume, as of right now anyway, all of this is public record, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Up until the November meeting, you always put your board packet on the website so anybody could see it. And in November and this one, those weren't there. And earlier you asked if there was any comments about the changes you were making here. And we couldn't make any comments because we had never seen it tonight. And according to at least your old one, 3A1 is that all relevant information would be posted to the board website. I was just wondering, is that still going to be the policy?
Thank you, John. Thanks for bringing that to our attention. And we'll look into that, why that wasn't posted, unless Wendy or Johnny have insight into it right now.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. That's all I have for now.
Thank you. And then we have one other attendee as a member of the public. This is Taylor Strub. Are you interested in giving public comment? If you are, we can allow you to unmute, but I'm not seeing a hand raise or.
Hi, Anna. Taylor Straub is from the governor's office. She's in attendance.
So no public comment there. All right, so that is the end of public comment. Any other discussion or anything, Wendy or Johnny, you want to add this evening?
I just wanted to add thank you. We're taking notes on the next agenda and some of the considerations for the discussion around naming after individuals, as well as the discussions around the process document and taking into consideration the public comment. So just appreciate everybody's time tonight.
And I will echo that on behalf of the whole board. And I will also extend my gratitude to the board for your service. It is a privilege to serve on this board alongside all of you. And I always appreciate the richness of the conversation and the thoughtfulness that each of you put into this board. They're also meaty packets, and I appreciate that people read them and come prepared, and that's always evident in the conversation we have. As a person serving on a local elected body, I can tell you that it is evident when people don't read their packets, and it is very common that they don't. So I appreciate this board even more so for that reason. Anything else before we adjourn this evening? All right. I will go ahead and adjourn us. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Have a great end of this brief winter.
Thank you,
everyone. Bye-bye.